In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to use the TI-84 graphing calculator to graph linear equations. You'll press the y equals button, which is located at the top left of your calculator. Most of the buttons you'll use when graphing are located in the top row just below the screen. The equation I'm going to enter is y equals 1/2 x minus 1. We're going to go to y sub 1 and type in our equation. These other subscripts are if you want to type in more than one equation at a time and graph more than one thing at a time. So when I'm typing in a fraction, I need to be careful and put it in parentheses. So I'm going to type a beginning parentheses, then 1 divided by 2 for 1/2, close the parentheses, and then I'm going to need to type in x. Whenever you want to use your x variable, it's this x variable key right here underneath the mode button. Make sure you hit this key and do not use alpha x. And then I'm going to subtract 1. And then I'm going to hit graph, which is the button at the top right. This gives me a good idea of what my graph looks like, but I can always zoom or change my window if I need to. I usually start by going to zoom standard, which is zoom 6, and that gives me a good starting window. But you can also zoom in or out. Those are on this menu as well. Just make sure you press enter after you select that option. But let's say I want to get a very specific window. So let's say I want to change my window from -5 to 5 for the x min and x max. So the x min is the furthest to the left that you'll see. So I'm going to type in -5. Make sure you're using the negative key and not the subtract key. That's important. We're going to get an error message. I'm going to change the x max to +5. Now the x scale means that is how far apart the tick marks are going to be. This is your scale increments for your x-axis. I usually leave that at 1. Unless I have really large numbers, I might want to scale it by 2 or 5 or something. Now, when I go down to y min and y max, I'm just going to make those -5 to 5 as well. But that's as far down as it goes is your y min, that's -5, and as far up as it goes is your y max, that's +5. Again, I'm going to leave the y scale at 1 as well. Now I'm going to hit graph. As you can see, this changed my window and it's a little more zoomed in. Sometimes this is helpful if you want to look at a certain portion of the graph. The next thing I want to show you how to do is to use the table feature, because you will often have to replicate this graph on your own graphing paper. And that can be hard to do sometimes because you don't want to just look at this graph and eyeball it. You want to get exact ordered pairs. So I want to go to second table. I'm going to press second and then hit table, which is the menu above the graph button. As you can see right now, my table is blank. So I will need to change my table settings. Table set is above the window button. And again, I need to press the second key before I hit it. When you go to the table setup menu, you'll first see table start. That is the first x value that's going to be in your table. You can make this whatever you want. Right now, it's a -3, but you can make it a 0 or whatever you want. I like my table to increment in whole number values, so I make my delta table 1 because those type of points are easier to plot than if you were to increment it by decimal or fraction values. But you could change that if you wanted to. For right now, I'm going to switch the independent to auto. That means the independent variable x is on auto and the dependent variable y is also on auto. You can change this to ask, but I'll show you what that will do later. So let's go back to second table and let's look at how this changed things. As you can see, I have a list of ordered pairs now. For example, this first point is -3, -2.5. That point is going to be a little difficult to plot because it has a decimal in it. So when you're going to plot some of these values, you probably want to use the ones that have integer values for both x and y if you can find any. So if you see the second point in the list is negative 2, 2, probably going to want to use that one. Also, I could use 0, negative 1, or 2, 0. So right now, I'm going to use those to plot some points on my graph. So starting at the origin, I'm going to start with the point negative 2, comma negative 2. So I'm going to go left 2 for the x value and down 2 for the y value. I'm going to plot that point right there. Now I'm going to plot the next point that I mentioned, 0, comma negative 1. So since the x value is 0, I don't go left or right any, but the y value is negative 1, so I go down 1 on the y-axis and click there. All right, the third point I want to plot is the point 2, 0. So I go right 2, but I don't go up or down any for the y. Now I have plotted 3 points, but technically for a line you only need 2. But I wanted to give you a good idea of how to plot these points. Once you have your points plotted, you want to draw a line connecting those points. Now you have replicated the calculator graph on your graph paper. It's always good to go back and check that yours matches up with the calculator graph. So let me push graph again. Now let me show you how to use your table settings in a different way. Let's go back to second table set. And now let's change the independent variable to be on ask. This means I'll be able to type in whatever x value I want, and my calculator will calculate the y value it goes with automatically. So now let's press second table. Now I can type in whatever I want to make my order pair. I can type in 0, 2, 5, etc. And these are all other points that would be on my graph. I hope this lesson has been helpful. I'm Leslie Huss, and this was a lesson about using the TI-84 graphing calculator to graph linear equations.